Well, I think all of us understood that the apprentice model has had a long history, that is, learning by doing and participating with others who have more mastery. And certainly the only way you can do that is by asking questions and looking things up. And the Common Core Standards, as one example, more recently within the American context, requires that we build knowledge, not only just consume knowledge and articulate it for the purposes of the test, but we know that we're going to lift standards. We have to create learners that are knowledge makers, and to build up habits that are transferable outside of the particular context of the structured classroom, but that are transferable for college learning, transferable for work, and transferable for good citizens' behaviour. So it is important that the affordances of the digital technology for much more engagement, greater sense of agency, become important not just for creating good knowledge in subject areas, but producing certain kinds of learners. So how are we engaging with these kinds of affordances and these kinds of goals in the classroom? Digital spaces will continue to offer opportunities for everybody acting at the same time, everybody contributing at the same time. They will offer us opportunities for capturing all that activity, whether it's speaking or performing or writing. It can be captured. What do we do with what we capture? Why would we want to do it? And of course, once we've captured it, it does allow us the opportunity to track the artifacts of that production and to share that knowledge with more than the teacher. These are the possibilities that come from working within this space that has been afforded by the tools offered in the digital ecologies.
What we've got in this world, though, is a general move from what I would call hierarchical, top-down knowledge flows to more horizontal and more lateral knowledge flows. So let me take an example from the new media. Let me take the example of Encyclopaedia Britannica. That was written for a century or more by experts. They found the person who really knew, a volcano scientist, and what he or she did was they wrote a 2-page entry about volcanoes because you couldn't spend more than 2 a page, 2 or a couple of pages on the subject because the whole darn thing would get too long. Okay, so what he did was that, and he was the expert, and he told you a definitive boiled-down view about volcanoes. Now we have Wikipedia, which is just endless. It's produced by people all over the world. There are hundreds of volcano pages about specific volcanoes as well as volcanoes in general, and it's constantly edited. And we don't even know who the authors are. We don't know whether they're scientists or experts or whether they're just amateurs who've taken this thing very seriously. So in a way, this is a big shift in the general framework of knowledge production in the world that we live. So that means, what are we going to do in classrooms? Are we going to follow the spirit of the times and move in that direction ourselves in terms of building classrooms as participatory knowledge cultures? Now, for me, this means that instead of the students becoming people who absorb and memorize knowledge, they become knowledge designers, they become knowledge co-creators. So in fact, it may well be that if I write the Australian volcanoes are actually very, very interesting phenomena. You can walk through these lava tubes under the ground, which are like these enormous tunnels. I'm sure that a student could write a brilliant report about that based on the tourist information about the sites, based on Wikipedia. And in a way, what they could do is produce a piece of knowledge which is in a way unique and as good as any other piece of knowledge based on all these wonderful available sources. An interesting story which I like telling is that a group of primary or elementary school students in England did a science project about bees, and bees everywhere in the world are under threat. but they were out somewhere in regional England in the countryside, and they wrote this little report, and they discovered some really important new knowledge and information about the issues that bees were facing in their particular environment. Bees, as I say, are under threat everywhere in the world because of all sorts of environmental factors, pesticides, climate change, all those things. Anyhow, that article that they wrote ended up being published in Science magazine, Real Science. So, that's within the bounds of possibility that we can actually take our students that seriously. They're real knowledge producers, and what they're producing is always a unique and valid artefact in the world.